which Mom created by hand, read, "Our Little Space Project." She was putting on a brave face, just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Mom always desired in her heart to return to Kansas. There's no place like home, and home for her was never in New Orleans, no matter how hard Mom tried. Dad was a good worker and soon spotted another big opportunity. The Boeing 747 program was underway in Everett, Washington. They made him an offer he couldn't refuse. We moved to Bellevue, south of Everett, where Mom and Dad bought a house for under $30,000. Dad loved his new job and stayed involved with us kids. Mom did the best she could, but the stress and adjustments of the 2 cross-country moves were taking a bigger toll on her than she communicated to us. For years, a big pile of boxes still packed sat in our basement, untouched. Mom was never convinced we were staying. In the early years of my life, I remember my dad taking us fishing and camping, and we used to play football almost every Sunday afternoon at the field at the nearby school. I was 5 or 6 then. On Sunday mornings, we'd go to Mass, then head home and eat a quick lunch. We'd watch the game on TV during football season. I'm a Steelers fan today, but back then, I loved the Packers since my dad loved the Packers. Quarterback Bart Starr was our favorite player. My brother Don's favorite team was always the Cowboys. He liked Roger Staubach. And there was a big rivalry in those days between the Packers and the Cowboys. Whenever those 2 teams played, Don would be on one side of the room cheering for his team. Dad and I would be on the other, cheering for ours. I don't remember who everybody else in our family cheered for, but I remember that for years, all we ever thought about was football. I have a vivid recollection of me, Don, and our older brother Joe, ages 5, 7, and 9, respectively. We became our favorite players most Sunday mornings after Mass was finished. As we left the church building, we wove in and out of the other parishioners, cutting and faking, pretending we were aiming for the end zone. That's just how focused on football we were. We were oblivious to how that must have looked to the people we were dodging. Generally, Sundays were good days. Once lunch was finished and the game was over on TV, we'd head up to the field at the school. There'd be maybe an hour or 2 of daylight left in the cool Pacific Northwest autumn afternoon. We'd divide up into teams. Dad could throw pretty well and would play quarterback for both teams, alternating sides depending on which team was playing offense. However, over the next few years, things began to sour between my parents. Mom struggled with anxiety and turned to alcohol. She saw a therapist, but he brushed off her concerns, saying, "Oh, Barbara, just buy yourself a new hat." This was the 1970s, so there wasn't nearly the amount of mental health resources available as today. As I look back on those days from an adult's perspective, my heart goes out to my mom. She really had no support system in her life, and she did the best she knew how. Eventually, Mom and Dad separated. I was 12 or 13 years old. Dad gained custody of us, but I'm not sure he really wanted us. He had become involved with another woman who also worked at Boeing. On the weekend, he would load us kids up with groceries, then drive an hour up the freeway to Everett and stay there for the rest of the week. He would return the next weekend, stock us up again, then head back to Everett for another week with her. This pattern went on for a year or so, week after week after week. We were all alone. When I was 13, my dad came home, called us all together, and announced that he was finished with fatherhood. It stunned me. "I'm done raising kids," was his exact phrase. I didn't know that was an option for a parent. Hint, it's not. This was cold-hearted rejection, and I was devastated. I had no stability, no sense of what was normal. The 4 oldest kids were out of the home by then. The 4 younger ones, including myself, were still at home and needed somewhere to live. Mom had slipped more into her addictions and wasn't able to take us by then. Dad told my older siblings they needed to take in the younger ones. Otherwise, he said, we'd be split up and farmed out to foster homes. It wasn't easy for the older kids to assume responsibility for the younger kids. Joe and Don, 2 of the younger ones, were 17 and 16, still in high school. They pooled resources and got their own apartment. Dad chipped in to help, as ordered in the divorce decree.